Coming up, a Sad Styles production.
Get into it.
And welcome to the Retrograde video game podcast, where this week we break down all there is to know about the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer.
Wonderful. My name is Andrew Baskin. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey, Florida man, Aaron Word.
Florida man. Strong Florida man energy.
Strong Florida. Who do you think between the two of us is more of a Florida man? Me?
No, it's me. Oh my God, are you out of your mind?
The way you looked at me, I'm like, this is not going the way I expected.
I want to make it clear, there are so many better Florida man people out there that we could do. Like I'm saying, like Spider-Man.
Yeah, who named them?
Was that?
Name them.
John Gabers.
John Gabers is a Florida man for sure. Yeah.
I just think he's got crazy, big, chaotic, loud energy.
Yeah.
But I'm not that much, but I am so much more than you.
Oh, yeah. But I think also now we're thinking of the term Florida man differently. I don't think it's big and a lot of energy. I think it's just like you're in the news for something questionable and horrific for the most part.
Well, maybe it is you. I was just thinking, because usually that person has like a mullet and like wraparound sunglasses and camo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things that you like when they catch you in the middle of the swamp and they find all the bodies and stuff, you'll be in a 3-piece somehow, and you'll
I'm not going down to the bayou in a 2-piece, Andrew. Come on.
The bayou. It's just wait.
Well, that's no, I'm giving away my actual. I didn't want to like
your
my
location?
actual location. Yeah, where I did store the bodies. 3-piece suit in Florida, sweating through it.
Yeah, full linen suit.
There were a lot of weddings this summer, one of which was yours.
Yes, mine.
And it is not easy wearing a suit in the middle of summer. I just have to commit. The jacket doesn't come off.
It doesn't come off.
I sweat through everything.
No, it does not come off at all. It can't.
No.
Once you realize, you're like, well, I've already sweat through. It's like, well, the jacket stays on.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I sweat to your wedding. I sweat through my shirt in the Uber over to to the ferry that took me to your wedding.
Yeah,
And there was a ferry that took us to the wedding. It was
like true Tinkerbell.
Situation.
Yeah, everyone had to clap. Power.
Yeah.
It's it really is. So yeah, that linen suit in the bayou, of course, where they're gonna find all the bodies. You won't be sweating that day.
No,
you'll
be honestly
cold as ice.
A little bit of relief.
Yeah,
I've just been harboring this secret for so long. I mean, in this scenario,
yes,
would have been. I'd imagine it's hard on someone and like strangely lonely.
Yeah, you're gonna be one of those great serial killers where the police pull up and you'll be like, gentlemen, I thought you'd never find me. Like something like really like no regret at all.
Walking with them, like with my hands out to handcuff me because I know I'm going to get away somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wear a 7, by the way, or something crazy. And you're like, wow, that's wonderful. This guy's so cocky.
Yeah. There's going to be weird characters like that and so many more in Grand Theft Auto 6 when it
100%.
releases in 2025. We know a lot about it. We finally got the trailer. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to break down the trailer kind of beat for beat, some things we noticed, and then we're going to give some predictions on what we think is actually going to make it into the final game, perhaps to separate Grand Theft Auto 6 from the Grand Theft Autos that we know earlier on in the franchise. But before we get into that, Andrew, I've got a little bit of gaming news to talk about. I teased this in last week's episode that I'd finished Alan Wake 2. And I think it's time now for me to take a moment, because I didn't want the whole episode last week to be focused on Alan Wake 2. I think it's time for me to focus on it today, that I've rolled credits, that I've beaten this game, and I have a continuance of thoughts that are going to add on to all the stuff.
Continuance of thoughts.
I think that might work.
It does work. It sounds good.
Does. It sounds like a man in a 3-piece suit would say it almost. No, I want to kind of continue down my thoughts on Alan Wake 2. I was really singing its praises. You haven't started it yet, right?
No,
I'm assuming.
No,
okay,
no.
Because I know you've been teasing with me with some new games that you have played, and I wasn't sure if I was going to say some spoilers that were going to kind of like ruin it for you.
No, I'm not a spoiler guy.
So I finished the game. I think it took me upwards of 30 hours or so.
Okay,
longer than I expected to put into it. I am much less into it now than I was when I was about 15 hours into it, because I was like really coming for this game. I was like, this is brilliant. The storytelling's amazing. I'm confused a lot, but I feel like they're taking big swings, and I think this is good for gaming in general. Ultimately, now that I'm done it, I think the game is 10 hours too long, and I really struggle with movies, TV shows, games, any of that when it starts to drag on. I'm like, get me out of here. I'm kind of done with it, because And I know a lot of people who wait years and years and years for video games to come out are like, no, we want 30 hours, we want 40 hours or something like that. But like, how long would it take to like like Mad Men. I'm going back to watch Mad Men.
Okay.
That's 7 seasons.
Yes.
About 12, 13 episodes per season, 45 minutes per episode. To ask someone to beat Alan Wake 2 is almost like saying, watch all of Mad Men. You know what I mean? Like when you start to gather up all of these hours. So when I say something like, I think maybe we should dial it back a little bit in terms of the amount of time that it takes to beat some of these games. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's ever...
Yeah, I think TV, I think you're making the right comparison where TV and video games are the correct one, because no one ever goes like Grey's Anatomy. We don't watch Grey's Anatomy,
right?
But we could laugh going like, man, it's like 26 seasons. That's so funny. But people that love it are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
All I want to do is every week tune in and see my friends and they'll tell their stories. And it's no different than I think a lot of people's video games. It's not like a movie where it's like it's 2 hours tight, you're in, you're out. That's the story. There's a finish, and you're in.
Yeah.
A lot of people just want to boot something up and have a little bit of familiarity and time that they can spend with a world that they like. So in my mind, it's not like, oh, this was too long. Because you know, yes, it could meander story-wise, but I think it's a lot like television where people just want to turn it on and spend time with their friends, and when it's over, they're sad.
In a lot of games, I agree with you, but I think in something like Alan Wake 2, where it's so clearly about a story, like what is the story? What's the mystery behind the story?
Is there no side quests or anything?
There are not really side quests. No one gives you, there's no one out there to say like, hey, I've lost my suitcase. Can you go find it? The only side quest
is your suitcase haunted?
In Alan Wake, probably.
And it's like, no, I'm not. And you're like, no, it is.
It does talk. It's not haunted though.
Yeah,
it's a nice boy.
I'm a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. So the off to the side ancillary kind of quote unquote quests that you do are finding cult stashes, finding lunch boxes, these weird little statue mini games that you play, but it's never like an NPC is coming towards you and saying like, hey, I need help with something.
Yes.
So by the end of 30 hours, when 10 of that or so has been like walking around a map, looking at all the places you're not supposed to look at. And I kind of touched on this in an earlier week. And a part of me is like, I really want to finish the story. I'm curious about where the story is going. And yet so much of my time is focused on what I want to call bloat, because it has no contribution to the overall story, but just feels like something you do out of obligation. It does ruin my overall appreciation of the story, because now I've spent so much time in this universe interacting with these characters under this tone that it feels like it's sort of diluted the whole experience in my mind. And to your point of like a Grey's Anatomy, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you just want to open up, and I can see that making sense in something like Red Dead 2 or Tears of the Kingdom, where the stories that occur are kind of organic and natural and are a part of just existing in the world. Whereas this feels more like opening up a book. And if the book went on 200 pages too long or something like that, you're like, okay, you know what? I liked the characters. I like this world, but I don't want to spend quite as much time in there. And I ended up finding that a little bit.
That's too bad. You know, I obviously, I think the comparison too, just to hammer home just the television and video game one is both are incentivized financially to keep you playing the game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Most games out there just want you to keep playing it.
Sure.
GTA is going to be a great example as we talk about GTA 5 having 10 plus years of GTA Online, have made it a multi-billion-dollar franchise, one of the most successful single properties ever, because they just want you to keep turning it on every day. And Mad Men or even really good shows up until like Lost saying, we're going to finish on this time, which is so unique and still doesn't really exist before streamers. Most were like, can we do another season? They're like, yes. You're like, great, we're going to find more stories.
Right.
It's not like, and now we're done. You know what I mean? So I think there is a little bit of that, but you're right. When it comes to very hyper-driven story stuff, it can feel meandering.
Yeah, when its goal is to be singular in its story, then that can be a little frustrating. However, I will say, as much as I was done with Alan Wake 2 by the end of it, I know Alan Wake 1 had a decent amount of DLC. Control even had DLC that was related to Alan Wake. Wow. If they release DLC for Alan Wake 2 and it's kind of like a bite-sized 5-hour story, I'm totally in. I would love something like that. The thing I think ultimately looking back on Alan Wake 2 that confuses me a little bit, apart from the story itself, is everyone is really like holding this game up as though it is like the crowning achievement of storytelling and narrative in games, because it has that kind of Twin Peaksy David Lynch sort of feel to it. I think that people who are fans of video games need to ask more of our video games, because the writing in this game is nowhere near as good as a David Lynch movie. It's
okay, I'm so glad you said that. When everyone's like, it's David Lynchian, can you imagine showing this to David Lynch? You'd be like, I hate it.
That's the thing. It is Lynchian in the sense that it carries some of the themes and the weirdness and the uncanny valley, but it's not as well crafted.
Yeah.
And if like that upsets people who I've spoke to when I say something like that. They're like, no, you're jaded, you're cynical, expecting too much, whatever.
Really?
And I'm like, I think gaming has like we live in a world where The Last of Us 2 exists.
Yes.
Writing and storytelling in games can be on par, if not better, than TV and movies. So whenever it isn't, we shouldn't applaud them and treat it like we're tricking ourselves into thinking that this is the greatest thing we've ever seen.
100%.
It's not.
We're not the kids at the dance that's on the wall anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like where you go like,
yeah.
oh, good for you. You got out there and you asked a girl after a date. No, we need to ask more from these things.
I agree.
Because you're right. Not even Last of Us 2. Last of Us and more video games are going to be turned into high entertainment.
Yes.
You know, The Last of Us is now going to like win a bunch of Emmys. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Based on a video game with the video game creator involved in the TV show. I think you're right. It's one of these things where we can ask so much more of them because they're asking so much more of us. Time, money.
Yep.
We always talk about, man, stop putting out new games so we can catch up. There's so much out there. We should filter out the bad stuff so we can get the good stuff.
And even filter out the bad stuff from within a good property. And that's the thing, like,
that's good.
Alan Wake 2 is not bad. It's really good. It's very close to being a masterpiece. But I think if you attribute that status of masterpiece to Alan Wake, you're leaving so much room where it's like, that isn't our ceiling. Well, we've seen our ceiling. We know what the ceiling is in storytelling and gaming. This is really good. It's really good. But and this happens all the time in this podcast where I feel like I'm pulling on the other side of the rope when I do really like a property, but I just want to recontextualize like what greatness is in gaming. And I think ultimately the thing that hurt this game the most is the thing that I initially liked the most about it, which was it was taking big swings and these narrative arcs that I was like, ooh, kind of like Lost. Like, how are they going to draw this all in? Like, you're taking some big swings here. And in the end, there were narratives that weren't closed off perfectly, and it felt a little harebrained and scattered at the time. And then the end was very much a not with a bang but a whimper kind of moment. And I don't think it was done so intentionally.
Oh,
it just felt like
I kind of like that sometimes.
No, that can be great, but it was kind of like, it was the only thing that could have happened. And I feel like so much of this game was setting up like, who knows what's happening. Right. And then to end up in this place where everything is incredibly predictable and the twists are forecasted in a way that I think they make it so that when the twist happens, I was like, oh, I thought we were supposed to know this already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're the way that they let the cards go to ultimately reveal whatever the equation of the story is. By the time we get there, I'm like, oh, we weren't all supposed to be there. And that is like a significant issue with this game where they have this mind place for one of the main characters, Saga, and she has these like, Saga. I know you want to say it. You can say it. No, say it.
Saga.
There you go. Oh, that's even better.
Yep.
Where you have to basically put down these story beats on like a police corkboard, like a Charlie Day style corkboard.
Yeah, love it.
Which is a really cool concept unless you're already caught up with the story. Yeah. And then you have to just spend time putting papers down something and then watching a little cutscene where she's like, it turns out the brothers were doing this and that. And I'm like,
oh, I just assumed that was happening.
I was like, I know that. We all know that. And the number of times they reiterate plot points in this game makes me feel like the game thinks I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
They're right.
Yeah, they're right. They're on their corkboard going like, oh, I thought we already knew that. Mikey is string to tack.
Oh, sure.
Idiot.
Yeah. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot when I've got so many theoretical friends buried in the bayou somewhere. That's right. Come with your size 7 silver bracelets for me, police.
Yeah.
You coppers. I'm the idiot all of a sudden. So I'm going to kind of close the book on Alan Wake 2 until we get to, what's that?
No, nothing. I was just going to say something incredibly stupid. So
no, do it.
I was going to say that you're like, I'm actually pro-police. I'm so pro-police. I'm giving them something to do. Keep something busy.
Yeah. Well, they do need something to do.
Yeah. Crime is down to an all-time low. We need to get these people employed.
I think like from a society standpoint, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
When I say defund the police, it's not because I think that they hold too much power for people who don't know how to wield it properly.
Yeah.
I think it's because we don't need them anymore. Our society is just good. We're fine.
I think whoever's holding hands, singing.
Exactly.
A
Hands
World Without
Across
Lawyers from The
America.
Simpsons. I was thinking about this because the MTA in New York put out these new like jump resistant turnstiles so that people can't hop the turnstiles to get on the subway. And I was just watching this like, what a complete waste of money. I can't wait to see in 36 hours the first guy that's like, oh, you know what we could do? We could slide under them or something, like something crazy.
It's like when Apple was like, we don't get viruses on Macs, and they put that in a commercial, and it's like, no, we just didn't give a fuck about Macs. Now we're gonna put some viruses on
now you became the dominant technology, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So that's it, and I'll kind of close the book on Alan Wake 2 because as much
which
as
is ironic.
It is very ironic
because he's an author, right?
Well, and he writes books.
Well, that's what an author is.
Yeah. No,
let me just tie this string to Mikey is an idiot again.
No, Andrew, I feel like you're not keeping up.
Okay.
When I said close the book on it, he's an author and he writes books.
Right. I just said that though.
Right, but after you just said it, I said it first.
You didn't say it. We can be in agreement. How about that?
That I said it first?
Yeah, boy. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
you get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's all good.
Work with this fucking idiot over here all of a sudden. It's fucking brutal. Just attaching red lines places. Speaking of deductions.
Sure.
I want to make a bunch of deductions off of this GTA 6 trailer.
Sure. When I go hunting for ducks, I call them deductions.
Okay, I'm going to need you to walk me through.
Okay, let me untie the string for a second. Let me untie the string. I'm deducting the world, right? So.
Okay. Yeah. You're
the shun part. I'm not really. Don't toss that out. That's fine.
Well, if you're against duck hunting, then you're a deduct shunner.
Yeah, that's true. So you're holding up signs. Everyone's like, explain. Deduction.
You walk around the wetlands just making loud duck noises to scare the ducks away.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm actually just drawing them out to get shot. Yeah.
Why does this keep
No, fly. Get better at dodging bullets.
Has the Nintendo Entertainment System taught you nothing? Do you think there's anyone who played Duck Hunter on the NES and grew up to be a duck hunter as a result?
I think there's no way around it. Yes.
Yeah,
I think there has to be. Yeah, they want what a catty little dog that's just like
catty dog.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ironic.
Wasn't there an animated show Dog Cat or Cat Dog or something like that?
Oh yeah.
That was after me, but
yeah,
people seem to have reverence of it.
Cat Dog. There was also What a Mess. What a Mess was great.
Oh, I don't know that
Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh, sure, yes.
What are some other good cartoons that we loved?
Did you like Rugrats?
I loved Rugrats.
Oh, you're a big Rugrats person.
Yeah. I would do a whole podcast on Rugrats.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's been a podcast rewatching every show out there.
Yeah, we can't not do it. I think the only thing we could do is like a show about pilots or something like that.
A show about pilots?
Not actual flying pilots. I mean,
Sully.
The first episode of... Oh, yeah, right. First episode, Sully. We go through the trial. My player one was talking about... there was a TikTok that came up and I was thinking about DuckTales and how much that theme song absolutely just slaps. And
woohoo!
Yeah, it's so good. And I was like, oh, didn't you love this? And she's like, we didn't grow up with cable money, okay? We had 3 channels. I was like, don't turn this into a class thing.
It's not a class thing.
It's just because of your awareness of DuckTales or not is not like, makes me like,
Yeah, just because I grew up with a satellite and Nickelodeon in my backyard.
Oh, I didn't even have that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did, but it was tough.
I would have to find the butler to turn on the television.
And he was always like unclogging toilets or like going to the grocery store. He was never around. And Andrew, you laugh, but this is before we had cell phones. So when he was gone fetching me something, I never knew where he was or how close he was to coming home so that he could go into the backyard and fix the satellite dish for me so I could watch someone get gooped on Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I had Nickelodeon. That was something we didn't have in Canada, by the way. The other thing is it's just about, we can go to GTA in a second.
Okay.
But, anything that's under a cloche, which is those silver or glass things, anything that's presented like that, which in my mind was all the time butlers would present like a remote control. Here you are.
Oh, yeah,
Master Andrew.
Yeah.
And you'd be like,
it got almost annoying sometimes.
I think that is the most like, if you put anything under there, I'm like, this instantly is better now. That's why room service exists, because under a cloche, you're like, this is the worst cheeseburger I've ever had in my life, but you're like, oh my.
See, here's the thing though. You're 100% right. It does make everything better.
Stop.
However,
okay.
Once for room service specifically, where does that cloche go? It just takes up so much space.
The whole tray and trolley is now becomes a guest in your room.
Whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's really annoying, actually.
Yeah, when's the last time you got room service, by the way? That's not a thing anymore.
What do you mean it's not a thing anymore?
Well, like, it's just not like a lot of hotels don't offer room service in the same rate that they used to.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess it's because Uber Eats is our room service and we get it every night.
I guess that's true. And we could Uber Eats to a hotel, which I didn't even think about. But yeah, the last time I got room service, I only brought it up so I can bring up my thing. And
cool.
When we were in Tokyo in Disneyland.
Oh, wow. And not bringing up Tokyo again. Yeah. Didn't expect that.
I feel like I've only brought it up a couple of times.
Is that what you feel?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
At home, D-pads. Have I brought up me going to Tokyo too many times? I don't hear anything, but I guess they said no. We got room service because you're in the resort, so you can't like escape.
Oh,
right? There's bars on the window and stuff like that. Wait a second, was I arrested? and we got a Caesar salad and a pizza, which yes, very hyper Japanese. And but it was an American hotel, so like it's only American food. The worst food I've ever had in my life. It was like ranch dressing and like lettuce, and then a pizza that could have been like a pita. And like I've made better microwaved pita pizzas before. So
why have you made microwave pita pizzas?
Mikey, we didn't always have butlers growing up. It was funny. I was listening.
You pressed the buttons yourself?
Oh yeah. Jesus Wait a second.
Christ.
A human could operate a microwave.
Knowing, of course, that butlers are not human.
Yeah, exactly. We had a robot butler. We had so much money. I'm so sorry. We wanted to talk about GTA, and I got a thing about room service.
No. Anything more to say about bad pizza and bad Caesar salad?
What was your favorite broke meal of all time?
My favorite broke meal.
When things were tough. You're like,
ooh, I'd say the filet at Barbarians in Toronto would be like just when I'm down on my luck. Yeah. Because you don't want the filet. And I'm talking like an 8-ounce still. And I get a side of like.
I deserve this. I deserve you talking like this because I brought it up. Butter noodles, way to go. Okay,
Butter noodles are good. How about Mr. Noodles without water, just crunching those Mr. Noodles?
If you remember from a couple episodes ago, Mikey eating cereal out of a mug, this is the least shocking thing of all time that you would just destroy a brick of uncooked Mr. Noodles and the packet you put in your mouth. Probably
no. You put the packet, you sprinkle it on,
but it doesn't stick. It's dry.
Yeah, that's why you gotta eat it like it's like you just put caviar. You wouldn't know anything about this, but if you just put caviar on a Bellini or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Mussolini? Benito Bellini.
That little cracker made the trains run on time, I'll tell you that.
And that's why we should forgive him. He did make the trains run on time.
Yes.
Okay, so last week we talked about the TGAs. This week, Andrew, it's all about the GTAs. The trailer leaked about 24 hours.
That was very good. That was very good. I wanted to laugh, but that was good.
Thank you. You could have laughed because I like when people do that. That's some of my jokes.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
It's very funny. The most damning thing of anyone could ever say to you while having a flat face. That's very funny.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Andrew, knock, knock.
Who's there?
My new and better podcast host. Get the fuck out of here.
This is good.
So the trailer leaked about 24 hours prior to the trailer being presented by Rockstar, which is always a bummer. It seems like Rockstar has had some issues with this. I mean, weirdly, we knew GTA 6 was in the works because an internal memo or some stakeholder meeting basically said we're going to have massive profits in between like April 2023 and like March 2025 or sorry 2024 and 2025 because of an old classic franchise. Like they said without saying that GTA 6 was going to come out, and that's kind of how this whole thing started.
But that's the problem with it being a public company. They do need to tell people things are happening so that they can get money, which is at the end of the day the point of the thing. They also were part of a big cyber attack earlier in the year. In January?
That released actual like images and videos from the game. That's I think how we learned that there was a female protagonist, which I know you're still reeling about, Andrew.
It's one of my predictions, actually. It's in my predictions thing.
What is?
The female protagonist.
What do you mean?
I will get to what it means. That's not the end of it. Right. My prediction is there's a female protagonist.
My prediction is it's going to have like the acronym GTA, and then there's going to be like a V and an I.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, for 6.
What?
Oh.
No, okay. V and I.
Oh, is it like Greek or something like that? What is going on here?
What is
Greek? It's a language.
And only a language, not a culture.
That's it.
So the trailer release, did you watch the trailer from Rockstar specifically or when it released earlier?
I saw when Rockstar, when it got released on the internet, Rockstar started taking them down very quickly.
Yes,
and so I saw their tweet of going like, if it's out anyway, watch it from us.
It was such a like when you just wear your parents down. You're like, I want to go to McDonald's today. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And you're like, I want McDonald's today. And you get like really mad and they're like, fine, I guess we'll do. And then you get your way and you feel bad about it. It's like, oh my God, the trailer released. And then Rockstar releasing it just like, well, I guess if it's out there, we may as well like, please watch this clip.
The quote from the CEO is amazing. It goes, well, this fucking sucks. Yes. You're like, well, you know what? I also understand. If this came out in June, it'd be one thing. You had 24 more hours. It's like it's like finding out what your Christmas presents are on the Christmas Eve.
It's such a bummer. Like, I think it's really stupid.
It is so stupid.
I also like the original leaked version had like a crypto, like buy crypto something like watermark in the very center of it. And I wonder, do you think anyone bought into crypto because of that? Like, do you think anyone?
No.
Like, not a single person?
Oh, I don't know. I can't say that. There are some pretty stupid people out there. But it's kind of like if you watch an illegal stream of anything and pop-ups happen, you're like, has anyone ever signed up for one of these?
Yeah, they're like, and down goes John Jones. And you're like, what is Bet Slots 999?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm already doing something very illegal. What makes you think somebody is paying money for an illegal thing will be good to you?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Can I hack that Bet Slots 99 or something like that?
Yeah.
So here's what we know so far about GTA 6. GTA 6 is the name.
Yeah. From the trailer, you mean?
From the trailer.
Yeah.
It releases no earlier than 2025.
Oh, okay. Can we talk about that? Sorry. That was the first one where you're like, okay, we can get into our thoughts, but like you watch the whole thing and you're like, fuck yeah. And you're like 2025, like, oh,
Andrew, here's the thing, you know, it's the same thing with like the video game award or the game awards as well, where, you know, as much as you want to see a trailer for your new game, nothing hurts more than seeing 2025 in there, especially knowing like, maybe GTA 6 doesn't even come out in 2025. It might be pushed to 2026.
So that was what I was going to say. Is that if any company I would believe actually would give themselves a date that they would stick to, it might be Rockstar.
Yeah.
Because they very rarely have delivered something that's been broken on.
Why plant your flag in a date when you've already waited 15 years if you're not for sure going to hit it?
That's exactly what I say. So I don't think it's like next time CD Retrograde comes out with something, I'd be like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll see you next year. You know what I mean? I'll see you the year after.
They're like the new Peter Molyneux of promises when it comes to video games. It takes place in a modern day Vice City. The protagonist is a woman named Lucia. It will not release on PC day one, and Love is a Long Road slaps. It's a great fucking song, and it fits very well in the trailer. What are your thoughts? Oh,
do you know through the script what the original song that they had attached to it was?
No.
Blinding Lights by Weeknd. And I was like, I think this is a better choice.
I do. I love Blinding Lights.
I know you do. That's what I'm bringing up.
What I like about the inclusion of Tom Petty, apart from the fact that there's an inclusion of Tom Petty, and I speak for my player one on that as well, is
Tom Petty's awesome.
Tom Petty's awesome, is the fact that there is a connection between this trailer in a few ways and the song to Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the original, which was set in the 80s. This song's from 89, I think, or something like that. So there is kind of this nod to like, we know the heritage of Vice City in the Grand Theft Auto chronology and franchise. So I like that they kind of gave a nod to that kind of classic vibe. I don't want them to just like go away from their 80s roots when we go back to Vice City, because that's how I know it. So it was kind of like a way to ease us into modern day Vice City by having a classic song in it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
What do you think about not being available day one on PC?
It's a choice. I don't know. I think they are fully aware that their consoles have been the main driver for these franchises. So I don't find it super surprising, even though maybe not surprising in that they made that choice, but surprising that they wouldn't want to offer it up to the most amount of people on day one.
It's interesting. I know a lot of people were taken aback by it, which I was taken aback by. Not the fact that they're skipping PC, but the fact that people were surprised by it. Red Dead 2 wasn't PC day one. Grand Theft Auto 5 wasn't PC day one. I mean, Grand Theft Autos 1 and 2 were PC games, but everything else in the franchise it took a while to get to PC. So I'm not too surprised about it. It is a little strange that you would take 15 years and not be ready for day one PC. I don't know if maybe what they're trying to do, like Rockstar is probably so smart about this shit that they're like, we will release it on PC, and then people who bought it on PS5 will just rebuy it on PC because they can. But if we release them all at the same time, they're only going to get one of them. I bet you there's something to that. I don't know. Just kind of elongating the profits for this release when it comes out.
Sure.
So one thing I want to say before we get into the trailer itself, I remember back in the day, were you following around the trailers for like GTA 4 when they were coming out? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
One of the cool things about it is like, you know, I do think that was one of the first games that was released. This is the Nico Bellic Grand Theft Auto 4 Return to Liberty City. That was, it was one of the first games that I remember there being a trailer for that people really picked apart. And what I felt when I first watched the GTA 6 trailer was missing was like those little Easter eggs that that existed in the GTA 4 trailer. Like, you know, you'd see an NPC throwing away trash or like fixing the rear view mirror, like looking at their watch, just these little details that go on in this world to make it seem more lived in and realistic. And then I kind of realized that like, that isn't enough to sell a game anymore. Little details that you notice NPCs do. Yeah. So this is more about watching the trailer as kind of a hype machine and then gleaning potential game mechanics from it. So I didn't do as much of the whole like, oh, did you notice that this NPC like picked his nose and like that's crazy that they do that, right? It was more about looking at the overall vibe and feel to get more of a sense of the thesis of what GTA 6 is coming with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I loathe to say this word, but I think it's like more like the vibe. Like,
yeah.
What is it going to be like when I play this game?
100%.
You know?
Yeah. And the vibe is, I think, on point. I got to be honest. When there was all this talk about GTA 6 coming out, like I'm talking months ago, I was just figured it would come and go and like, sure, I'd play it, but I wasn't going to be that excited for it. Because GTA 5 was good for a bit, but I didn't love it. And Red Dead Redemption 2, I had my issues with, even though it is a fantastic game. After watching the trailer, even though there's no gameplay in it, I'm back on the hype train. Like I'm really excited for whatever they did worked on me for some reason. Were you before excited?
Oh.
Are you more or less excited after the trailer?
Oh, I don't know. That's funny. If anything, I might be less.
If it's so funny, why didn't you laugh?
It's not funny. It's more like, you know, like dark humor.
Yeah, very dark.
It's so dark. Most of the thing was shot at night, so it's pretty dark. But I think I'm less actually. And it's not to say I am like white hot with excitement. Like I'm going to buy this the second I can. And I love GTA. I've always loved GTA. I put so many hours into this thing and I loved 5 and obviously I love Red Dead Redemption 2 and stuff like that. So I am all in, but it was something about it was, and I'll get to this in some of my predictions that I have a little bit of fears and they kind of fall into more of like a Call of Duty thing where you just got to keep upping the game a little bit.
Interesting.
Until you kind of you lose touch with what made the game good in the first place.
That's very interesting.
I'll touch more on it. But
I like that a lot. And I think that you're 100% right. The Call of Duty is a great example where what I loved about Call of Duty, and I think you echo the same thing, is like Call of Duty 1, where it's like one shot and you're dead and the enemies are fewer and farther between, but it's a slower pace and plotting. And then they ramp it up a bit to now the point where like you move at like super speed and you've got these crazy ass guns and all that.
You have to keep resetting it.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I'm curious to see if what makes this GTA different is the fact that it is more grounded than some of the past ones. That would be an interesting choice and definitely in the cards potentially. So do you want to go through the trailer? I kind of have some beats that I want to talk about and then we can kind of give our thoughts on it. So first things first, graphics. I think the game looks incredible. And I want to point out, because it comes up all the time in pretty much every scene. Did you notice the hair in this trailer?
Yeah.
The hair is notoriously tough to render. Every character's hair, and granted, I don't know if this is like in-game,
sure,
for sure, like full in-game, this is what everyone's going to look like, or if it's a bit more of a rendering, but everyone's hair looks fucking phenomenal. Yeah. And if they can carry that through to the final game, like, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. That's the most next-gen thing I've seen.
So it's so funny you say that too, because I agree that I'm like, it looks good. Damn it. Like, God, this looks good. But GTA and Rockstar specifically do things, and they just kind of go, that's the way we do it, and you almost... whether you like it or not, you appreciate that is the way they do things. So you think about shooting or whatever. They're like, oh, we could do it better. This is the way we do it.
Specifically shooting for that. Yeah,
right. Yeah. But I think their character models are the exact same way. You see video games now and you're like, holy shit, is that real?
Yes.
They don't do that. They're like, this is our character models and we stick to these.
It is a little bit more cartoony, but what I do like, and I noticed this on one of the scenes in the trailer where it shows a crowded beach, that the actual bodies of the NPCs are now no longer just rail thin or like Russell Crowe post 2019.
Yes.
Like it's there's like a wide variety of characters and body types, and it just makes the world seem a lot more realistic. Not because the graphics are better, but because a crowd looks like a real life crowd as opposed to just whatever. And the other side of that is, if this is in engine, I didn't notice a single repeating NPC, which is kind of fucking crazy when you think about it. Because when we went back to play Grand Theft Auto Vice City years ago on this podcast, we noticed two things. One, there were like 8 NPCs, and 2, they were few and far between. Like, quote unquote crowded streets were empty the whole time.
I know. Yeah, that was crazy. I'm this game I'm going to talk about in the next couple of weeks. Same thing. Every third guy, I'm like, this guy again?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess. So. Yeah,
I think I know which game you're talking about now that you say that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, yeah, it did look great. Now, I did say the other thing, that color and neon is a huge aspect of this, which makes sense. Being in South Beach, Miami, basis, that they're showing the difference in the environments that they did, which obviously they did really well in 5 to show all of California pretty much. To do what they're going to do in Florida is pretty interesting.
I like that you touched on the neon. The opening shot of the trailer is this wide view of Miami, of Vice City, and it shows airplanes, clouds, buildings, a huge radio tower, and the draw distance is incredible. But the hue of the shot is the pink and purple, which I always associate with like Vice City in the 80s. And it was this, again, you talk about Tom Petty playing pink and purple on the skylines. In my mind, I was like, oh fuck, are we going back to the 80s? Like, and it wasn't that, but it's Rockstar's masterful, we talk about not overusing the word masterful, but masterful way of saying, like, I know what people are going to expect and want and what their familiarity is with Vice City as a city, and we're going to ease them into the modern day. And it felt like, for that to be the opening shot and the pinks and purples, it felt very purposeful for them to do something like that, which I really appreciated. Start of the trailer is from inside a prison. I wonder if we're going to spend much time inside a prison, if this is going to be kind of the training grounds. Because every Grand Theft Auto kind of starts with like this, press, like tap X to sprint, and this is how you shoot this. Do you think we're getting into predictions a little bit, but do you think we're gonna get that at all in this one?
I don't. I think theirs is gonna be a little bit more organic. It has been in the last couple of years, or last couple of editions. So I think it'll be a little more organic than like, pick up a gun, aim at that guy.
Yes.
Aim is L2, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we got the heat. We got 1 star right now. We gotta drive away.
Oh no, the army.
I do like the idea of like kind of a heavy focus on story as well. And I'll save this for a little bit later in the trailer. We cut from the prison to this kind of over bird's eye view of the ocean and boats going, and it looks gorgeous. The water technology looks gorgeous. One thing I noticed, dolphins and sharks in there. So are we going to get wildlife and animals that we can interact with in this game?
Yeah, because in GTA 5, it was very sparse. There'd be birds, a lot of birds. Yeah. And then you'd see some wildlife in like Northern California. Sure. But not in the thing. I wonder if, we've had technology with pets and stuff in the past. Yep. So I wonder if, I don't know. I think so.
I mean, one of the things we've always, Rockstar, for as, I don't want to say out of touch, because it's definitely not it, but for as unapologetic as they've been with some of the violence and gratuitousness in their games, they usually keep children and animals out of it. Yeah. For Red Dead, or for Grand Theft Auto specifically, obviously you can kill horses and kill all the animals in the world that you want in GTA. But I feel like that's kind of paved the way for, like, if you can do it in Red Dead, why can't you do it here? Let's get, maybe they're not going to be as precious about it. But two things I'll say: if there are sharks and you can get attacked by sharks and that's a mechanic, I'm out. Call me when GTA 7 comes out. Don't want anything to do with it. Okay.
In that one, the main character's a shark.
I'm back in. All of a sudden, I'm back in. The other side of it is, there's one scene later on in the trailer where the cops are busting down a door. It's from the body cam footage, and you see a "Beware of Dog" sign. If dogs are a part of this game and you can have like pets and stuff, interested. I don't want this to go Resident Evil. I don't want to be shooting dogs in this game.
Shooting dogs.
And I don't know why. And this isn't like in Resident Evil, it's because they're annoying enemies to kill. In this, I don't want the idea of there being cute little dogs in there that you can like run over with a car. Yeah. That doesn't seem cool.
I think, what was it? GTA 4, the Los Santos one? You had a dog, Chopper? think his name was Chopper.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so you
San
had a
Andreas?
dog. Yeah, San Andreas.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Where you had Chopper the dog, I think. So I could see that happening. I agree with you. I don't want to kill dogs. Fuck it. I was finishing Far Cry. Every once in a while, that dog would be like coming out. You're like, oh, great, here we go.
Yeah, it's. I've never been happy to see dogs coming at me in any game. In fact, I always can't wait for those scenes to be over a little bit. So then we get to this first image of the beach, which we talked about, all the different body types, all the different people on it. And I think it kind of shows a much more inclusive Rockstar, which I think I'm very curious to keep an eye on. You know, we've talked about this in past episodes, but like Rockstar is always like, if there is a character, they are a stereotype of some sort, and the message is a joke about that stereotype. Always. That's always what they do. In this, there are just people. And I like that because it makes it seem less comic booky and like frivolous and more like, here's a world you live in. Now, if that's the case, and I want to ask you this, do you think Rockstar purposely made it so that NPCs were jokes before, so that when you're running your car through a crowd of them, you don't feel as awful?
Yeah.
Is this a method that they're going to use to make it so that killing groups of people either feels worse or you're not encouraged to do it as much? Do you think they're going to try to like dial back the mass violence in this, which is such an iconic feature of the game, or no?
Yeah, I don't know. It is such an iconic feature of the game. I can't imagine they would try and like, you can't just run down that beach with a car.
That's the thing. Like if this game is if the trailer is true to Grand Theft Auto, you could crash a plane into that beach and kill 100 people.
It's either that or they're like the moral meter or something like that is going to be like stark. Like, you know what I mean? And like, it'll be like a disincentive to do stuff. I'm just only because it feels like politicians care about video games again all of a sudden because they are so popular. And so I just imagine somebody's going to show the one scene from like GTA 6, which is like the worst version 100%. Of it, where I walk into a train station to shoot everybody. And people are going to be like, oh God, we can't do this. Which, by the way, I love these games. When you see these clips, sometimes you go out of context, you go, oh God, yeah, Jesus Christ, this is not good.
No, not at all. No, I totally agree with that. There is a way to make these look atrocious. And I think Rockstar has always been so much of like a fence sitter that they're not trying to make a comment on it.
No.
And unfortunately, I think that type of statement doesn't work anymore.
I don't think it does either. There was something they said about that though, where somebody was asking about like the political landscape of America specifically, because it's always such a big farce and, you know, lampooning of America.
Yep.
And they go like, you know, like the political divide like has never been bigger, and you know, there's far right extremists, there's all these kind of things. What are you going to do about that? And they're like, we're not going to get involved in that. Also, it ages, once it comes out, it'll age for 2 minutes.
Sure.
And then it's done.
Yeah.
And he goes like, and I just think about that. That has to be their attitude about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, we can't stay anything relevant. We have to stick with things that are a little outside of the world to keep continuity and keep lasting. That's
interesting. It's an interesting, because nowadays a non-stance is a stance.
I agree with you.
And it's going to be hard to avoid that. Like they are wading into a political and social climate that is so different than it was 15 years ago. And I'm not sitting here as someone like, I can't wait to see what they have to say because they need to be accountable. It's the opposite. From just a curiosity standpoint, how does such a large publicly traded company deal with this? I'm just curious.
Forever the joke was like ammunition, like everyone deserves to have guns. And then that became like an actual thing that people felt for, especially around the 2000s.
Yeah.
And now then you kind of go like, wait, so are you supporting this? And you're like, no, we're making fun of it. And then you go, but also your mission is to shoot a lot of people. And you're like,
yes,
right. Okay, well, now it's both things. And you're like, it's just tough.
When you start to contextualize, you know, that with the like a guy rollerblading down the Vice City Strip with a balkini on with like a very flamboyant accent, and you're like, so what you would use that guy getting shot in a trailer as like a funny thing about the game? Like what do you say? And you know, that's forever ago, so I'm not asking them to comment on that. I'm just curious to see how they treat those organic moments that will happen in this game. It's going to be interesting.
Well, the joke just can't be at the sake of a specific person.
Right.
The joke has to be a joke because it's a joke.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like, it's like comedy in general. It's kind of lazy if you're just like, look at that guy. That's funny.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it doesn't really fly like that. You got to be at least creative.
Or it's funny because the thing you said was offensive. Like that's not funny
edgy,
anymore.
You know what I mean?
There has to be a point to it. There has to be something clever about it.
And I have no doubt, based on their writing, they will do something good. That's not me going like, ugh, this is going to suck. Yeah. I think it's just going to be interesting how the change will be from GTA 3
yes.
to GTA 6.
I do think that they have to pull a rabbit out of a hat, but if any company is capable of it, especially with like the subtlety of the writing when they want to be subtle in Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm like, these guys know the human condition. And I think that, for their sordid history of stereotyping and all that stuff, I think they'll find a way to come across as I don't even know what the word is. Just better.
Better.
Just better.
Yeah. Quality. Yeah.
So after the, we get a strip club scene, which it looks like there's a guy with a COVID mask in there, I think. I don't know. There's like dollar bills on the ground, which look like they each have their own physics, which is pretty cool. And then you get the shot of the classic Vice City strip, but modern day.
Yeah,
you can see the yellow car that's parked in front of Tommy Vercetti's first place that's there the whole time is in that shot, which is really, really cool.
That was really good.
You get this pulled out shot of the Florida Keys, and one of the bridges is out. And I wonder if that is a hint that they're going to start gating some of the progress. Do you think they'll do that? I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think they'll incentivize you to stay in certain areas for a large part of it. Like you'll just be outmatched going into the Everglades or something like that, or whatever it is. But yeah, I saw that and I thought that was a nice little touch of GTA 3 where the bridge is not finished.
Yeah. I think it was more of a nod, but it's funny because there are two bridges. One of them isn't finished, one of them is. And I think that may be them saying like, remember where we were, don't worry, there's always going to be a way to get to where you want to go. Nice. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Who knows? We get this is the part of the trailer that I think is pure vibes, which is just a lot of different interpretations of classic quote unquote Florida man viral videos that we've seen. Gators going into convenience stores, twerking on the car, the an old man in a bikini watering his plants and stuff like that. It was more just like, look at the things you're going to come across in this. Like Florida's an interesting place, let's say that, and just living in the city, you're going to see a lot of this stuff. You get the mudding scene, where there's just a bunch of people like driving cars around in the mud. And sure, this just looks like here's another subset of people you'll come across. But mud physics, they looked really fucking good in this.
Good. Yeah. It was crazy. I couldn't believe, because then you can see their outfits underneath and they're collecting. And you're like, man, that looks good.
And it reminded me of like PS3 era. The game MotorStorm was a racing game that often took place in the mud, and like in MotorStorm, which was like a really good game. You'd race like trucks against motorcycles, against cars, whatever. Cool. But in the first lap, it would just be mud. And the second lap, you'd like see the tire marks through and you'd see them again. And I'm like, man, we've come such a long way between that being cool and now it's incorporated in this massive open world game. There's a billboard that I think kind of hints at some of the humor we might get in Grand Theft Auto. It's for like a pharmaceutical thing called Angstapan. It's quote unquote America's favorite disassociative. The tagline is that it cures emotions. What do we think about that as like a joke?
I don't know. Maybe that's the thing they're going to attack, pharmaceuticals. Yeah, maybe they'll attack.
That's, you're right. That is a target that you can go after and not offend anybody.
You can, because everyone will be like, they could make a thing about OxyContin, and you're like, you're right. That was bad. That killed a lot of people. This, or like, not feeling happy, here's a pill. And people would be like, yeah, we're over medicating. Or somebody's like, yeah, it's important we do that. Or, like people could feel both sides about that.
What worried me though a little bit is that feels like a joke I've heard 1,000 times before. And I never really associated Rockstar with like going back to the well for all jokes, but it's in a trailer, whatever. We'll wait and see.
100 different people you'll deal with.
That's exactly it. But hopefully that doesn't speak too much to like the talk radio, which is always fucking hilarious.
I'm glad you brought that up. The talk radio is so important to me.
Yeah.
I would listen to music from time to time because the music's always really good.
Yeah.
It's such a deep bench that they use. It's only getting bigger. But the talk radio is always so funny because it was always somebody like David Cross.
Yes.
That they would just put into a room for 10 hours and he would just go slowly insane. And it's just, and he would just be driving on like, and then and you're like switching channels. Oh man, I loved that.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh, good.
You move from this scene to kind of more of a indication. I think people are calling the male in the trailer Jason. So Lucia and Jason, they're talking to one another in a very sincere way where Lucia's like, you got to trust me. It's going to be a long road, whatever. We'll get there, this and that. And there was something so satisfying about watching that scene. And I couldn't put my finger on it until like the third time watching the trailer. I realized no one yells.
No,
they're just talking to one another. Yeah. In GTA 5, this would have been like an angry, like, you got to listen to me. We're going to, like, is Rockstar finally realizing that all the protagonists don't need to be yelling all the time? Because that was so off-putting to me in GTA 5.
Yeah. See, GTA 5 was heat, right?
Yes.
That's clearly the theme there. It's a heist-based LA.
Yeah.
thing. I have a comparison of what I think this is.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for the trailer breakdown. So is that part of your predictions?
As part of my predictions.
Okay. Do we want to move into predictions?
Yeah,
or do you have anything else about the trailer you wanted to say?
No, the driving down the highway that is on the water. If you've been to Miami, there's the water on one side, and then you could see the basketball arena, the FTX arena, which is so funny.
Amazing.
What are you gonna do?
What are they gonna call that? That's right.
Crypto is something that they could absolutely rip apart.
100%.
And everyone would be like, yeah.
Although I bet you there's the Venn diagram between crypto bros and GTA players, GTA Online players are like pretty one-to-one.
Yeah, but to think that GTA has never made fun of
its own players,
I think is
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it goes back to the gun thing, but yeah, and the stadium's lit up with the same kind of like crest. It's kind of like got lights that runs through it. I just thought it was so beautiful, and I was like, man, this game's gonna fucking rock.
I think it will.
Yeah. So we're gonna make a couple predictions here based on what we think we might see in this game.
Can you lead off with the movie comparison? I'm curious to see what you think there.
So there is a lot of really good Florida movies, right? But the one that I couldn't get away from after I watched it a couple times about seemingly only 2 characters. We might have more, in GTA 5, there's 3 characters that you could, phase between, no matter what, which was such a good technology. There was no load screen. You would just go, and it was so fast and instantaneous. And it was always funny because they were doing something.
Yes, that was
they're on the toilet or they're in a fight or, man, you'd switch to Trevor and he's like, he'd have almost no health because he's getting his ass kicked. And you're like, fuck. I think this is going to be Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, interesting.
I think the more I saw it and the more that I saw this exact same scene we're talking about, like, you have to trust me. We can do this. And they immediately have masks on and they're heisting.
Yeah.
And they're sticking up like a gas station. And I'm like,
oh,
I think this might be Bonnie and Clyde, especially because of Rockstar we know with Red Dead that they have no problem with their characters dying at the end.
Yeah, true.
And it almost might leave a mark more on the game that if one of these partners dies and the rest of the game, once you're done the story, you live in the other character only.
Interesting.
Would be like such
kind of like Red Dead 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you would like do, sorry. Yes.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think that Rockstar a few years ago wouldn't have made it Bonnie and Clyde. They would have made it Natural Born Killers. And I think tonally Bonnie and Clyde works a lot better for something like this. Because Natural Born Killers would have been more the Heat route where I'm like, okay, guys, let's dial it. We don't need it at 11 all the time. That's interesting. Also, I heard a theory, or I saw a theory on IGN that Jason is a cop or an undercover cop that potentially Lucia is trying to break away. He's got like these green pants in the image with these cargo pockets that are very similar to the Miami SWAT team, what they wear.
Wow.
And when he walks into the convenience store, he's holding the gun with his left hand. And if you go back to the body cam footage, there's that weird part. The cop holding a gun is left-handed. So it's like, maybe, who knows? I don't know.
Interesting.
It would be interesting from a story perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to go next?
I do want to go next. This is a prediction that I have it's pretty big, like complex, but I think is going to speak to what I truly believe is going to be a major gameplay element of Grand Theft Auto 6. So one of the massive things in the trailer is that in pretty much every scene, someone is filming. TikTok is like an overlay, or there's the messages. I think, and this is going to kind of cascade a little bit. I'm going to add on to my points here. When you do something like crash or shoot someone, everyone's going to pull out their phones and start filming you. That's kind of a given. Yeah. Like there's no way NPCs in a modern game aren't going to act like that. Prediction though, you're going to have an app that you're going to be able to scroll through where you can see the chaos that you've caused from the other people's perspectives. So they've essentially filmed what you've done. Did you have this prediction
I have
as
almost
well?
the exact same note.
Amazing. So I'm going to continue going with this then.
Please.
There's also probably going to be a gameplay mechanic where the amount of chaos and the amount you show up on other people's videos makes you like influencer style.
Yes.
So you get followers and you become sort of infamous. This might be how you unlock outfits because companies start to send you outfits rather than just like, of course, like missions and this and that, but you'll get to pick like send me this for free or everything. I'm using my influencer points or whatever. This, I think, is going to be Rockstar's way of saying that like, social media and infamy has gotten so far one way that we're going to forgive the chaos, the death, the destruction, because all we care about are eyes on your videos, which is kind of like, I think what a lot of people think is happening to social media anyway. So if Rockstar wants to plant a flag, like we talked about by saying, it's not going to hurt anyone to go after crypto. It's not going to hurt anyone by going after the pharmaceutical company. It's also not going to hurt anyone by going after the state of influencers and the state of social media as it is right now. That seems to be a major stance, quote unquote stance, that Rockstar is going to take here.
Yeah, I have something very similar about how big social media is going to be in the game.
Yes.
And I think when you're watching all the Florida Man videos in the trailer, they're through social media.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was thinking like, maybe this is how you get missions. Maybe like, maybe you see something crazy happening. You're like, I got to go fix this, or I got to go help, or
like
whatever.
a live stream or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that. And then the other one is just because the last couple of games have had phones, but they've been so not necessary.
Oh, yeah.
Like you might pull up a message and it's like, in the last game is Lester saying like, we got a big thing coming up. Whatever. I think it's going to be much more integrated to the game.
Yes.
It's not going to be an ancillary thing. It's going to be a completely vital thing.
100%.
Just like phones are in our everyday life.
Yep.
So
like imagine a scene where you get a selfie of you blowing up a car and it gets a bunch of views and you get rewarded for that.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be Rockstar's way of saying like, look how fucking crazy social media is.
Yeah,
and it's
an
easy, safe thing for them to do that can tie into the gameplay mechanics.
That's interesting.
I think that's going to be a big part of it.
No, that's a really good call. Well, since I also have that, do you want to go again?
Sure. Yeah, I will. So I'm going to say the map looks fucking huge. We've seen that. When there's one scene where I think I've heard that it was an homage to not Vice, was it Miami Vice, where you see the speedboats kind of coming along it was like one of the opening shots of Miami Vice. I think similar to like the island of Guarma in Red Dead, we're going to be able to go to Cuba.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. I have this too. I have that and more than one state.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's so funny. I have written down, oh, Mikey, you're going to hate this. This is going to suck so bad for you.
Because it's going to be that big.
It is going to be fucking gigantic. I think you can go to parts of Louisiana.
Yeah.
I think you'll be able to go maybe even Mississippi on the top, or Georgia, and then I also agree that there is going to be a tropical island you can go to that will be very similar to Cuba.
It'll be our version of Cuba, and it might just be something like we know Lucia has like a bracelet on for probation.
Yep.
So I don't know if that'll tie into the gameplay or not, but that may be their way of saying like you can't go past this point because then the army there's extra whatever it's like, so you just don't go there or whatever, and if you do you just get like killed by SWAT or something like that. But I think that's going to be a big thing, and I think that in order to accommodate the large size, I think we're going to get a fast travel system that is similar to that of Spider-Man 2, where it's like literally immediate, which they already kind of had in GTA 5, but yeah,
they kind of already had it, but I agree with you. And also part of the Rockstar thing is I think they avoid the fast travel as much as possible because the traversal is such a big part of the game. Like running into things is a big part of the game. So, just hop on a plane and
exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. So, wow, we had two in a row.
Two of the same ones.
Mikey, let us know. What else am I going to pick?
Okay, let's do another one. Okay. This is kind of an either or one.
Okay.
There are going to be references to a movie within this world, which is like Scarface, but is based on Tommy Vercetti's story, which is funny because Tommy Vercetti's story is based on Scarface.
That's amazing.
That or Tommy Vercetti is going to be in this game in some capacity.
Wow.
Yeah. Because we don't know the fate of Tommy Vercetti post, I think, San Andreas.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I have something similar, not the same.
Okay.
I have something similar where I think there are going to be levels where you go back to the 80s.
Oh, I fucking hope so, Andrew.
I think you'll run into old people that'll be like, and then you do their story of their life.
Oh, I hope so.
And I think that'll be their way of tipping, like going this world, but.
Oh, that would be brilliant. I hope that's true. And I hope that there are things that you can do in like 1980s Vice City that kind of change the way modern day Vice City operates in some capacity.
Yep.
That's great.
Okay.
My prediction is going to be another kind of gameplay mechanical prediction. So Yakuza is a game that's gotten and was before and still continues to be wildly popular. And that game has side missions where not only do you take over like a brothel or something like that, but you get to determine who works there, what the prices are, all this stuff. Whereas in Vice City, you had the ability to buy a bar, but you would just, once you bought it, drive by there once a day and collect money. I think there's going to be a massive mechanic, which is almost like running your business, like business sim management kind of thing. Like in a franchise mode in NHL or an NFL game where you get to determine the design and the staffing and all that stuff. And that's going to determine how much your takeaway is once you've already owned it.
I think that's a great idea. I think taking parts of GTA Online and putting it inside the actual game. That's part of it. And that's part of like buying properties and things like that are a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's going to be a co-op campaign.
Oh, cool.
I think with being two people, I think there will be elements of co-op campaign.
Man, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope that's true. That's a really good one.
When I saw them come into the gas station like that, I'm like, oh, maybe that might be it. Because ways of playing online is obviously now defined the GTA franchise, even though that's not the way I play. And I think trying to use that campaign that they put so much money and time into a way to make more money would make sense.
I think I love that idea. And as someone who I don't want to play GTA Online. I don't want to play Red Dead Online. I'm glad they exist. They're great for Rockstar. People seem to love them. But I do want co-op in my Grand Theft Auto. I would love to be able to, it's like, okay, here's a heist. Let's go do this. Or just come into my world and let's fuck around a little bit with my story. Kind of like, you could almost do it like Dark Souls, where at the beginning of a mission, you have like, summon signs where you're like, okay, I'm going to bring in a character to do this with me. And that's going to be a real person. And someone's going to be controlling them. I think that would be really neat. I'd really like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Would you got one more?
Yeah, I do. My last prediction here is, it's kind of a smaller one, but it is a little bit of a gameplay mechanic. I think that there will be an element of hunting in the game, kind of like Red Dead 2. Yeah. We saw a lot of animals in this, and I think even if it's just like hunt the legendary animal or something and it gives you a trophy, I think that there's going to be something that has to do with going out there and killing flamingos or like killing a bear or a shark
and get
or
a feather
alligator.
and get
exactly.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's unavoidable at this point. Red Dead 2 being the last one that's come out, you know what I mean, had done so much for that. Yeah. That I think leaving that behind would be a mistake.
It feels like they've got the mechanics. Why not use it to build out your world?
It also, like, my player one played so much Red Dead for that reason. Yeah. And I think it's just another, like we were talking about earlier, it's just another reason for people to stay in the game.
Yeah, as long as you don't have a mission where I have to collect 5 3-star rabbits. I fucking hated that in Red Dead.
Well, some people loved it.
Some people are wrong.
Some people loved it. Okay, I got 2 more, but none of them are really actually, this one's a prediction. Having the main character be a woman won't be as much of a controversial topic as once thought. Yeah. I think the idea that a GTA franchise would have a woman of color too, be the lead of this thing, I think even a couple of years ago, people would have been like, no, never going to happen. Now, and I understand I'm different I'm better than a lot of people. But
and that has to do with your skin color and your gender.
Absolutely. I get to look down on everyone else. But the second trailer story, I didn't think twice of it. You're like, yeah, okay. And I know there is always a small minority of people that will be very loud about it. But I think that selection of people would have been a lot bigger a couple of years ago. And I don't think it's as much of a big deal anymore.
I think you're 100% correct. I think the loudest people are going to be the people who are saying people are going to be offended by this.
Yes.
And setting up a straw man or woman argument.
Or hey woman. Hey, I don't want to
hey woman. Yeah, it's not just a straw world we got.
What are we, construction workers? Come on.
Hey woman.
Hey woman.
No, I think that seems to be, and I think that's also just a social media thing nowadays where the loudest voices are the ones who are like, can you believe people are going to be upset about this? And like, I'm like, I don't know a single person who actually is. What are we talking about right now? Yeah.
Or somebody's never spoken about video games in their life.
Yeah.
It'll be like Ben Shapiro being like, I think it's wrong. I'm not going to buy this game. I was like, you never spoken video games once.
There are 2 things I know women can't do. Get a wet ass pussy and be the protagonist of a Grand Theft Auto game.
Look at this controller. Too complicated. For a woman's brain, get out of here. I don't even know. Is that a good? I don't know. I'm just doing like little guy.
Just little pipsqueak. Like just most punchable face.
Oh God. Well, God bless him. The other one I was going to say is I kind of brought this up earlier with the Modern Warfare Call of Duty stuff. My fear is how do they keep expanding? And this was a big part of the Neon and some of the drag racing stuff. Okay. Is that my fear is, and very on the nose, is the Fast and Furiousation of the franchise where it's like, it just gets higher tech and now they're going to space and now they're like, and they can disappear and they can do, and you're like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. If you do drag racing, I'll be in fucking heaven. Sure. I'll absolutely love it. But don't do stuff where now they're like almost international spies.
But don't you think that of all franchises, Grand Theft Auto is the one that's been constantly dialing it back? Like, you have
Grand Theft Auto. Okay.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. You have Call of Duty that's ramping it up. When you think about Grand Theft Auto 3, it was kill, bombs, bazookas, all this shit, do whatever you want, tanks, all this, cheats. And it was the same with Vice City. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was like, you got to eat, you got to train. Grand Theft Auto 4, took a bit of that, but it's like there's relationship management. It's less and less about like the utter destruction and chaos you can cause and more human. And I think with the trailer that we saw, with it really humanizing the NPCs, they may be going for like, you're going to kill less people in this game.
Yeah.
And it's not about, causing massive amounts of destruction as much as it is, there's a real world that you're living in, and everything you do is going to have consequences, which is something I was begging for with something like Red Dead 2, where I'm like, one death seems to be a tragedy in the story, and yet you walk into Valentine and shoot up like 70 people.
Yeah.
And it's just this narrative dissonance that I've never loved about Rockstar games.
Yeah.
Maybe this is their chance to dial it back, and instead of going Fast and the Furious, they go Sophie's Choice.
They go what now?
Sophie's Choice.
They make a choice between two of their children?
No, I think they just go dry. Just a very, very meaningful, sad.
Meryl Streep's in it?
Human. Yeah, Meryl Streep is definitely in GTA. She plays Lucia. You didn't notice that?
No, I didn't know that. She can do anything. She can do
so
anything.
good.
If they turn a fucking camera around and she's the president or something like that, I'll be like, oh, like, if it does it in Call of Duty and like, I don't even want to mention his name, but Kevin Spacey's the president.
Oh, I do want to mention his name.
Yeah, do you? Yeah.
Let
that
it
might be
Frank.
one of the few things he could get like a role in.
Call of Duty?
No, be president.
Oh, being president.
Being president doesn't seem to have like a high bar to hit right now.
They're trying to keep me down. You're like,
oh, is it Ben Shapiro again?
I think it was like JFK.
Oh, JFK. Oh, very good. Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, and I do believe that too. It was just something about the lights and the stuff, and I was like, oh fuck, don't fuck this up. Don't do too much.
Yes.
Because one of the things I do like about GTA, and I know this is gonna sound fucking insane, is that it kind of feels real sometimes. Like I know you can drive tanks and blow things up and all this kind of stuff, but there's parts of it where you just kind of drive to work.
Wait, so that's what you like or
I
don't
do
like?
like.
So I agree, but it seems like that's only been recent. Like
Yeah.
remember in
Okay,
Grand
fair.
Theft Auto, I don't think it was Vice City. I think it was just Grand Theft Auto 3. There's
Okay.
a mission where you have to like take someone's car, set a bomb up in it, and then drive it
Yes.
back and not get in an accident. And that was like, this is so weird. Holy shit. This
So
is, but
hard.
there's so much of that shit. Yeah, it was impossible.
Yeah.
But there's so much of that now in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
And I think that they've gotten more and more inclined to tell more human, subtle stories that not every mission is about mowing down civilians.
No.
In fact, maybe they're encouraging you not to when you can avoid it.
I agree with you. And also the only other thing I was saying, make it weird. Like have these things where it's like a very centered story, and then every once in a while you run into someone who might be an alien.
And
You're like, wait, what?
100%.
Who's that? But they don't say anything.
Yes.
It's just like there. Like I was thinking of Red Dead 2, the mystery man that would show up that seems like a time traveler
That's it.
maybe.
Yes.
Or you can find cults that have all died or things like that.
You need that. And I think San Andreas did a good job of, or not San Andreas, but the setting of San Andreas, I think it was in Grand Theft Auto 5 or Los Santos.
Los Santos,
Yeah. Was up in like the mountains and in that very sparse area. That's where you'd find really strange things.
Yeah.
And we've got the bayou.
The bayou? You mean the Everglades?
No, I mean the bayou.
Oh, okay.
Well, based on this multi-state theory that you got.
I honestly do, yes. I do think there might be a little bit of Louisiana, but yeah.
Yeah. And no, I think that there's plenty of weird people.
Yeah.
Florida man. B, you're going to get a ton of weird areas where like you're in the middle of the Everglades.
Yes.
And
a cult
there's
or
a guy in a 3-piece suit burying bodies or something.
Drawing, like painting something, and you're like, the fuck is this guy? He's
Smoking
like,
a pipe.
Yeah.
Like, you seem wildly put together for what's going on.
Everyone else sees him, right? Like one of those.
Yeah, Andrew, like when we talked about doing a full episode on Grand Theft Auto, it was one of those things where we're like, is that enough? Like, did we do?
Yeah,
but
do we have enough time?
Once I really started to dial into what the trailer offered us, I was like, man, I could talk for 2 more hours about this.
Well, we can talk for 13 more months at least because it's not coming out for 2025, but man, are we excited.
Very excited.
Oh my God. Please let us know what your predictions are for GTA 6, what you thought of the trailer, and what you thought of the several impressions that we did today. We love every single one of you. And we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Bascom. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is, Kennedy's back. This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
I am a writer for the Daily Caller. No, what, Daily Wire? What is it? It's one of those things.
You're on your own.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Gorbachev, tear down this wall.